Hello and welcome to On Point. My name is DeJuan Hoggard. Today we will be discussing blacks in Hollywood and the dynamics behind the roles they are given on the screen, as well as behind the scenes. Joining me today are Lawrence David Foldez, who is a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, writer, director, and producer of 9 feature films, as well as the executive director of the Independence Film Fest of Colorado. I have T.R. Locke, who is author of I Followed My Bliss to Bankruptcy, What I Wish I Knew Before I Moved to Hollywood, and he is also a screenwriter of 3 to 4 feature films. And also I have actor Brandon Fobbs, who is a character Puddinghead from the 2007 film Pride, who's worked on over 20 different projects and recently completed a film with Cuba Gooding Jr. entitled The Devil's Tomb. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
The first question goes to Lawrence. Why don't we see more films starring blacks?
Wow, you know, that's seems like a simple question, and actually the answer is pretty simple, because the whole way that the industry works currently is it's all about money. Unfortunately, starting in the mid-1980s, the entire industry changed from the way the studio systems worked from the golden period of Hollywood up until then. And what we saw begin to happen was large conglomerates took over ownership of the major studios and the major independent companies. And suddenly everything became the bottom line and became dollars and cents. Of course, that's not to say that the film industry wasn't about money before, but at that point, these corporations that took over function very differently than the studio heads from the past. A lot of times the studio heads made films for other reasons. Reasons such as awards consideration, reasons such as wanting to court a certain director, certain stars to stay within the studio. So money wasn't always the reason that a film was made. When the studios were taken over by companies like Sony and Viacom and so forth, every picture that the studios made had to make money. So what we saw begin happening at that point is stars and the value of stars became more and more important. And so to get back to your question about why we don't see more blacks in Hollywood, the fact comes down to that there are less major black movie stars than there are in other ethnicities. So you continue to see stars like Denzel Washington and Halle Berry, so forth, over and over again, because people are familiar with them, people are familiar with the names, and so therefore the studios continue to hire them over and over again, even though there's a tremendous amount of wonderful talent without that name stature.
Okay. Well, we have Brandon Fobbs here with us today, who indeed is a working actor in Hollywood. What's it like being an African-American actor?
Now, it's lovely. You know, I mean, honestly, I'd say it's lovely because you have a way of standing out. You know, it's hard, it's challenging. You know, I mean, I wouldn't even tell people it's hard. You know, like, the challenges are basically, what are you going to do? How are you going to adapt? You know what I mean? Because you can sit there and cry about it, but mainly, it's great to make your own opportunities. You know, you got the internet now, you can market yourself to everybody on your own, you know. So one is studying. One thing is you got to do a study. If coming into this as like a black actor, you got to make yourself, however you can, a cut above the rest. A lot of people aren't studying. I won't even say just black actors. I'll just say a lot of people aren't studying, you know. And they see it. It looks like fun. They try to get out there and do it. And they'll find a niche. Some people that are working now, they have a niche, but they can't stretch. You know what I mean? But if you're an actor who can do all certain areas, then you're able to step here, do the thug role, step here, do the good boy, good guy role, whatever, do the lawyer role, do these roles. And if you can effectively change into those roles, you know, you'll work more. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to make you a household name all the time, because sometimes household names come from people that build their own niches and stay with their niche, you know, because the audience gets to know you, and then they start to see you as a friend and everything. So they come to see you go through situations like you mentioned, Denzel, like who else? Samuel Jackson. a couple other folks that escaped my mind, but people, Will Smith, you see him as a friend, you know what I mean? They're not really coming to see necessarily the movie, the script, or what the story is. They're coming to see a friend go, you know, and go take a trip with them, you know? So I always equated it to, if you know somebody, you like them, and they say, hey, let's go on a road trip, you're like, I can sit with this person, and I'm willing to go with them. But if it's somebody that you're like, you know, even if it's say a character actor who is this role this time in this movie, this role in this movie, this role in this movie, well, you got to meet them all over again in each movie to a point where you're like, I don't know you that well. I mean, I know you do good work, I know you're cool, but I don't know if I feel like riding with you on this one.
Okay, now, TR, as far as when you're writing a screenplay, do you already have in mind who you want to play that role as you're writing it, or do you give roles to non-Hollywood roles, I should say, to blacks, as far as, you know, they're not the thug or the you know, the basketball player?
Yeah, one of the differences between being you know, a writer versus an actor or director is that a director and actor works with a script. They are in some sense performance artists. I'm more of a creative artist in that I make up a story. But unfortunately, what he was saying earlier is true. The dollar controls Hollywood. So if I'm writing an original screenplay, I'm going to write it from the perspective that I have. And if my perspective is for African Americans, which it is, then I'm going to write a screenplay that features them. If I ever want to see that screenplay produced, however, there should be some white people in it. And that's just the fact of the matter. You're not going to get it produced otherwise. Take any movie, Barbershop. There has to be a lead white character at some point within that script. There's very, very few movies that are made that wouldn't, even if the story doesn't feature it. So you have to make sure that you build it in. The fact that they are written that way, there are plenty of really good black scripts that are out there that aren't being produced or made for various reasons, and most of it is money.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to just touch on what TR said. Back in the original Hollywood studio system, the way that films were basically made was a director, writer, would bring a screenplay to a studio head and would also have the people envisioned, the cast envisioned for that. And the studio head would basically give the go-ahead based on the stature of the filmmaker and their gut feeling. So a film like The Godfather today with Coppola, if that was brought to the studio, it wouldn't be what it was. It wouldn't be in the form of what it was. Because the first thing that you would see today is a studio executive saying, Marlon Brando, you know, he hasn't had any good pictures in the last decade or two. You know, no, he's not right for this. Even though Coppola would say, you know what, this is going to bring him back. This, I believe he is the right man for this role. You have the development department coming in, you have market research coming in, demographics coming in, all these different departments who are going to say, no, you can't put him in.
Not to mention the record side of the studio that has a new singer that they want on there. So he's got to come in and he needs a part. You know, instead of Al Pacino, let's put in you know,
Justin Timberlake.
There you go, Justin
Timberlake. What you might see actually is, you know, the studio saying, well, we like this idea about a Italian mobster family, but I'll tell you what, let's do this. Change the role of the Godfather, and make it a little bit younger, make it a woman, and let's put Queen Latifah in there because her numbers are pretty good currently. I mean, and so that's why you see a lot of the I won't use the four-letter word type of films that you see out there today.